Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about two other forms of employment in the remote context. So if you're looking to hire people remotely, especially developers, you've probably considered hiring full-time remote employees or working with an agency. In my past videos, I also compared freelancers to remote employees, and I also compared freelancers to agencies. So today we're going to talk about remote employees versus agencies and what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of working with each. I'm going to start with remote employees and what are the advantages of having or hiring remote employees directly, especially if you're thinking about it in the context of, again, remote, but also in a lower income destination. So advantage number one is obvious, which is cheaper. So for the same budget or for a slightly modified budget, you can have more applicants, more relevant candidates for your budget. And this is true, especially if you hire directly. So if you skip the agency or if you skip the freelancer and say, hey, I want to hire someone and treat them like an employee of mine, basically. So this will save you a lot of money, especially in the long run. Advantage number two is you can build a culture and basically build a brand because you own that direct relationship. You don't own the people, but you own the relationship, and that way you can put the right incentives into place, put the right structures into place, be more frank, have them work by your processes and your standards, and have them adapt to what your company needs are specifically, and not in a kind of generic way, but really, this is how we do things at my company, at our company, and this is my expectations for you. And that will help you build, some form of brand, some form of a culture. People will be motivated to work for your product directly, for you specifically, for your say product or your customers. There will not be this kind of conflicting agenda or things going on in the background. So if you want to build a culture and if you want to build a brand and you need people fully committed to you directly, going for remote employees is better. No doubt about it. And then point number three, I kind of mentioned it, but it's basically having a direct relationship. So you can impact compensation directly, you can impact benefits directly, you can impact things like team events or trainings, certifications, their growth. You can impact that directly because you have the relationship. So you have more of a effect basically on these employees than you would if you compare that to an agency. Now, the disadvantage of working or hiring remote employees directly is, first of all, some legal paperwork. So you do need to comply with some of the laws and regulations of the particular markets. What are the rights? What are the health benefits? What are the PTO policy look like? And so on and so forth. It's not tremendously complicated, but it is something you do need to keep in mind, and you might need to have some advisor or a third party help you draft the contracts. Secondly, there's some learning curve required, especially for you as an employer, especially if it's the first time that you do this. If you've done this for a long time, probably not so much learning curve, but if it's your first time and you go to different markets have slightly different behaviors. You'll see different type of applicants. You see a different level of preparation, let's say for interviews, or their CV formats will be different. And also the different, let's say there will be particularities from going from, some Eastern European country to another Eastern European country. It's not necessarily apples to apples. So you'll see some difference there, and there will be a bit of a learning curve. Thirdly is more guidance will be required. So you need to be a manager to them. right? Or not you specifically, but you need to have dedicated people in your team to manage these new employees, these new team members, and that means anything from team building, right? So you're going basically from 0 to 100. This process itself is very effort, not just say time intensive, but also effort intensive, because you need to create something operational from scratch. You need to take care of everyone's career paths. You need to set up some form of mentoring when people have questions. You need to take care of retention so that people not just join but also stay for the long term. You need some training guidance. You need training budgets. You need to probably track the employee promoter score, or EMPS. And you need a clear structure, so team management and team management structure. Again, this doesn't need to be a disadvantage if you already have this in place, but if you don't, you need to think about these things when you are considering hiring remotely. And then the last thing would be logistics. So I can speak from experience here. Basically, cross-border logistics when it comes to office space, equipment, purchase orders across countries. These are all things that you need to be able to take care of. I mean, with WeWork, for example, or solutions like WeWork, this is great, but WeWork doesn't have a huge presence in our case at least, Eastern Europe. So you would need to find some co-working agreements with local players. Maintenance of laptops is something that we're dealing with, for example. There's no clear solution where you can just send your laptop and have it fixed, especially if it's cross borders. Again, if you need to send it, let's say, from Germany to Albania or back and forth. So there's no clear solution around that. You need to somehow have a operations system in place for solving this. And small things, even things like internet connection. So some people have good internet at home, some may not. They live in regions where internet is not so strong, or having internet backups. Same thing with electricity. So electricity might be strong or might be haphazardly on and off, depending on the region that these people live, if they're working fully from home. And any equipment, so headphones, mouse, keyboards, small things that can go wrong in the long term. And again, when you have a bigger team, the bigger the team, the harder this will be. If you have 1 or 2 remote employees, not a huge deal. We're talking about 10 or 20. It's a completely different game, so to say. So in summary, I think remote employees, the advantage is you own the relationship, so you can directly impact their performance, their happiness, and all of that. But you also own the problems. So all the problems that comes with managing a remote team operationally are yours as well. So it's something that you need to keep in mind when you make this decision in the future.